Here at NWR, we are very pleased to have the opportunity to chat to Noel Newell, Executive Chairman of 3D Oil, ticker TDO. 3D Oil is an ASX-listed oil and gas explorer with a truly world-scale portfolio of prospects and leads. Thank you, Noel, for taking the time to join us today. Perhaps for any investor not fully up to speed on 3D Oil and all you have achieved to date, might be a good place to start to provide a quick overview of the company and the 4 licenses that you're so excited about.
Thanks for introducing me, Aidan, and thanks for talking to me. Look, many people watching this may not be aware of 3D Oil. We have flown under the radar for quite a bit of time, and probably the main reason we've flown under the radar for many investors is we've only raised about $3 million in the last 15 years, yet we've participated in about over $200 million worth of exploration in the offshore of Australia. This is quite an outstanding achievement. Hence, we only have 265 million shares on market currently. We are one of the largest acreage holders in Australia, and which including the large companies, and we have three permits in Bass Strait, really prospective ones for gas. We also have a permit next to the largest oil discovery in Australia in 30 years, Dorado, in the up in the Northwest Shelf, and we also have a gas storage permit in the Otway Basin. Going forward, we have funding for 2 wells in Bass Strait from a deal we've recently done. This slide illustrates the prospectivity we've uncovered in Bass Strait. All these permits were picked up by 3D Oil 100% initially. You can see the numbers in black are prospects defined by 3D. The one number in grey is defined by 2D. But you can see that we have significant resources defined by 3D. And what's really important about these is they're actually in an area close to the East Coast gas market and also close to infrastructure that has spare ullage. And one of the really exciting things in and looking at this is we look at, say, Vic P79, where we have almost a half a TCF identified by 3D. We're in an area where we've seen a success rate in the last 20 years of almost 100% when prospects are drilled based on what we call AVO anomalies. Now, we're spot for choice in this area. We have many of these. And so, like, this area is world-class. There's not many places in the world where you've had 100% success rate over 20 years. Looking at, say, T49P, this area is slightly different geologically, but it has potential to have very, very large prospects in there. We have one identified already called the Flanagan Prospect with 1.3 TCF prospect in there. Over to the east, we have a permit, Vic P74. It's adjacent to the largest oil field in Australia, Kingfish, which has produced over 1 billion barrels. We believe this permit probably will contain gas rather than oil due to geological factors.
Noel, that's a extremely potentially large gas position you have there, just offshore Victoria, Tassie. What's got you so excited about the market opportunity for that gas looking forward?
Well, look, despite what we hear about transition, I think gas has an incredible future still on the East Coast for quite a while. If we look at AEMO's predictions on gas, we see there's a massive shortfall of gas supplying the East Coast gas market. Now, I think their predictions are somewhat optimistic in terms of the amount of gas that's needed. I think it's going to be more than that. This is predicated on gas being diverted from the LNG in Queensland. It's also predicated on renewables kicking in earlier. I think the demand for gas in the East Coast is going to be strong. And when you look at the East Coast, it's hard to see where that gas will come from. We look at Bass Strait at the moment, and production in Bass Strait from Exxon Woodside has fallen off a cliff. We see production from Cooper's assets quite low, and Beach's production also fairly static. There is significant room for a further play to come into this market. And if you're looking to see where this gas may come from, there's only really one place, and it's from our acreage in Bass Strait, in my opinion. The gas safe up in the Northern Territory, which has large potential, is a long way from market, while importing LNG into the East Coast is going to be expensive gas. The gas production, say, from Bass Strait is the cheapest gas into the market of the East Coast.
Couldn't agree more, Noel. There's a couple of other peer group explorers out with licenses talking about filling that gap, but I think what really differentiates you is the fact that you've executed not one but two major farm out deals already. Perhaps run us through the background to those transactions.
Well, it's one thing to have prospects and highly prospective prospects, but we all know as a small cap company, it's often hard to deliver value for shareholders with those prospects. In the last 3 years, we've executed two farming deals with ConocoPhillips, one of the largest oil and gas companies in the world. Those deals have been quite significant, arguably the best two farm out deals in Australia in 2 decades. They've involved getting 2 wells drilled for us. They've involved getting a seismic survey undertaken for us. They've also involved getting cash up front, hence why we haven't gone to market. And Conoco are in a hurry. They want to be a gas producer on the East Coast. They are producing gas in Queensland, exported, but they are very, very aggressive down in this part of the world. And having done 2 deals with us, we feel very, very lucky. And we are aligned. We want to be, get gas to market. We want to be the next biggest gas producer to the East Coast markets. And we have a great relationship with them going forward.
Yeah, for such a small company, Noel, tightly run, that's obviously been a very busy 2 to 3 year period for you. You got 2 wells, obviously, to drill coming up. What other activity have you got on your plate? And so what does the news flow pipeline for investors look like?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, we recently, the joint venture with Conoco recently signed a rig to drill in Bass Strait. We're in a consortium with some other companies, including Beach and Woodside. We will be drilling a minimum of 2 wells, and we will be targeting these very low risk prospects with amplitude anomalies. We want to find gas as quick as possible, and we want to bring it to market as quick as possible. Following on from that, we will also be have the option to drill a further 4 wells. Now, the intention of those wells is to basically define any gas fields we find in the first 2 wells to bring them to market as quick as possible. So Conoco are in a hurry, and we're happy to be part of that. Prior to drilling, we still have some more seismic that's in the pipeline coming through. We have reprocessing in the Victorian acreage, and we have a survey that's just been acquired and processed in Tasmania, where we'll be interpreting those. And I believe we'll have some more exciting prospects that we will be revealing to market prior to drilling. Of course, going into drilling, as there's a lot of work involved, is getting an environmental plan approved by the government. It's getting site surveys. There's an awful lot going on. And that's just in our Otway acreage. Of course, we have other permits, and we have the block in WA next to Dorado. And we see that there's a lot of activity up in the Dorado area at the moment with Santos approaching FID and also bringing new partners into that area. And basically, it's been a little bit dormant for a couple of years, but we're seeing a lot of activity up there. We recently saw Carnarvon in the last week announce their prospectivity of that area, right up against our permit boundary, which is very exciting for us. And we're looking to shoot seismic there once we get our environmental plan. So it was a lot of activity coming up in the next 18 months. It was a very exciting time.
Some great achievements there for a company that I think today has a market cap of only around 15 million. Noel, so probably a good place to end is to allow you to give you 30 seconds on the investment summary for 3D. Obviously, you're getting back on the radar for investors, getting the story out. So yeah, maybe just wrap up why people should keep an eye on you in the next 12 months.
Yeah, well, it's pretty amazing for a company of our market cap to have a resource base so large, but not only a resource base so large, but also a resource base that is in the right area. It is close to the gas markets. It is close to infrastructure that has spare capacity. It's close to the coast and reasonably shallow water. And again, as I said, it's one thing to have those, but then to put into place 2 joint ventures with a very large and aggressive company such as ConocoPhillips is very exciting. We have a rig effectively on the horizon. It's coming to Australia as we speak, and will be here in Australia shortly. And we have the possibility of drilling late next year, although more likely early 25. It's hard to think of a company of our size with so much potential upside with this activity coming up. The next 24 months is a transformational time for 3D Oil, and it's a very exciting time to be drilling gas prospects, whereas a market desperate for gas. Thank you for this time, Aidan.
Thank you, Noel. Obviously, hopefully on the watch list of a lot of people now, and look forward to tracking your progress over the next sort of 3, 6, and 12-month period. Sounds very exciting. Thank you, Noel.
Yeah, thank you, Aidan.